The concrete mixer rumbled to a stop at the edge of my backyard fence just as the first light of dawn cracked the horizon. Its steel chute extending like the barrel of a howitzer aimed straight at my kidney-shaped pool. "Surprise, you little deviant!" Karen's voice sliced through the morning mist, sharp as a switchblade, her peroxide blonde bob quivering with righteous fury as she waved a clipboard like a battle standard from her side of the property line. I dropped my coffee mug, porcelain shattering on the flagstone patio in a spray of dark liquid that mirrored the spill about to come. As the gray slurry gushed out, devouring the turquoise water inch by merciless inch, turning my summer sanctuary into a cold, hardening grave. That was the moment my quiet life in Willow Creek, Ohio, the kind of cookie-cutter suburb where lawns were mowed on Sundays and secrets fermented behind vinyl siding, cracked open like an eggshell under a boot heel. I'd moved here 2 years ago from the buzz of Columbus, chasing the American dream on a junior architect's salary. A modest 2-story colonial with a backyard big enough for dreams, if not delusions. The pool was the crown jewel, installed last spring after months of haggling with the HOA board. It wasn't just a hole in the ground. It was my therapy, the place where I'd float on an inflatable lounge, beer in hand, letting the water wash away the sting of another grinder ghosting or the sideways glances from neighbors who whispered about the confirmed bachelor next door. Karen Hargrove lived at 147 Elmwood Lane, the self-appointed enforcer of Willow Creek's covenants. At 52, she was a widow with a pension from the county clerk's office and a vendetta against anything that didn't fit her vision of Norman Rockwell Americana. She'd been gunning for me since day one, first over my unkempt flower beds, wildflowers, actually native pollinator friendly, then the rainbow flag I'd hung for Pride Month, quickly lowered after her anonymous complaint. But the pool, that was her Everest. An eyesore, she'd called it at the last board meeting, her lips pursing like she'd sucked a lemon. Encourages, loitering, and who knows what else. I stumbled forward, bare feet slapping against the dew-slick grass, my heart hammering like a jackrabbit's. "Karen, what the hell? You can't." My voice cracked, swallowed by the guttural growl of the mixer. The driver, a burly guy in a hard hat with a tattoo peeking from his sleeve, avoided my eyes, fiddling with gauges as if this were just another Tuesday pour. "Oh, I can, Nathaniel. Read the covenants. Page 17, Section 4B. Unauthorized water features are subject to remediation at the owner's expense. Your little splash pad violated the aesthetic guidelines. Consider this community service." She thrust the clipboard under my nose. Some forged permit, no doubt, stamped with the HOA seal she'd probably swiped from the community center. Her eyes, magnified behind cat-eye glasses, gleamed with the thrill of conquest. The slurry hit bottom now, bubbling up in frothy waves that lapped at the mosaic tiles I'd hand-laid myself. Memories flashed. Lazy afternoons sketching poolside, the chlorine tang mixing with fresh-cut grass, the rare evenings when I'd invite a date over, only for them to bail before the splash. This wasn't just concrete. It was erasure. By the time the police showed, 2 board officers from the Willow Creek PD, sipping styrofoam coffee from the diner down the block, the damage was done. 8 feet deep, the pool was a monolithic tomb, the mixer's arm retracting with a hydraulic whine that echoed my defeat. Karen stood arms crossed, vindicated, as I stammered through explanations. The cops shrugged. "Looks like a dispute for the lawyers, sir. No crime here unless someone's got a warrant." No warrant, just a witch hunt wrapped in bureaucracy. I retreated inside, the screen door slamming behind me like a guillotine. The kitchen clock ticked 6:47 a.m. My phone buzzed on the counter. Texts from work, oblivious colleagues asking about the Peterson project revisions. I ignored them, dialing the one number that might salvage this nightmare. "Yo, Nate, what's good, cuz?" Sebastian's voice boomed through the speaker, all easy Midwestern drawl and unshakable optimism. My cousin on my mom's side, 5 years my senior, the golden boy who'd skipped college for trade school and built an empire from it. Hargrove Concrete, his company, supplied half the driveways in 3 counties. We'd been thick as thieves growing up, him teaching me to skip stones on the Scioto River, me covering for his teenage shopliftings. But life pulled us apart. Me to the city lights, Him to the family business after Uncle Ray's heart attack. Seb? I choked out, sinking onto a bar stool that suddenly felt too tall. You sitting down? His laugh rumbled low. For you? Always. Spill. I did, words tumbling like the concrete itself. Karen's grudge, the dawn raid, the irreversible pour. Silence stretched on his end, then a sharp inhale. That bitch. Nate, listen. I'm on my way. We'll fix this. Hargrove pours, but we also break. Get me the address of that driver, plates, whatever. And hey, breathe. You're not alone in this swamp. He hung up, and for the first time since the shoot extended, I felt the knot in my chest loosen a fraction. Sebastian, the rock, the one who'd shown up at my coming-out dinner with Mom, clapping me on the back like it was no big deal. Even his dad's fork scraped ominously against his plate. Straight as an arrow, Seb was married once, divorced amicably, now dating a string of no-strings flings. But he'd always had my back, no questions. The morning blurred into a haze of calls. Insurance, denied. Active neighbor. Lawyer, booked for afternoon, $300 per hour. HOA board, voicemail, stonewalled. By noon, the sun baked the backyard into a cauldron, flies buzzing over the setting surface like mourners at a funeral. I paced the living room, floorboards creaking under socked feet, replaying Karen's slur. Deviant. It landed harder than the concrete, dredging up echoes from high school lockers, from the church youth group that prayed for my soul. A knock rattled the front door, firm, insistent. I yanked it open, expecting Seb hours early. Instead, there stood a stranger. Tall, lean as a whipcord, with sun-bleached hair curling at the nape of his neck and eyes like storm clouds over Lake Erie. Gray, piercing, alive with something unnameable. He held a leather messenger bag slung crossbody, a thermos in one hand, and a tentative smile that didn't quite reach those eyes. Mr. Whitaker? Nathaniel? I'm Elias Grant, from Grant and Associates. Your lawyer rushed me over, said it's urgent. His voice was smooth, laced with a faint Boston clip, the kind that spoke of Ivy prep schools and summering on the Cape, but softened by years in the Rust Belt. He extended a hand, calloused at the knuckles, odd for a suit. I shook it, numb. Yeah, come in. A mess. He stepped inside, glancing around the open-plan space. Exposed beams I'd sanded myself, bookshelves groaning with Frank Lloyd Wright tomes and dog-eared Queer Lit. I've seen worse, he said, setting the thermos on the coffee table. Coffee? Black, I assume. Helps with the rage. It did. We sat, knees almost brushing on the sectional, and he flipped open a yellow legal pad. Elias was 32, he'd later tell me. Partner at a boutique firm specializing in property disputes, fresh off a win against a corrupt township. But right then, he was a lifeline, scribbling notes as I vented. Karen's history of harassment, the forged docs, the driver's complicity. This screams tortious interference, he murmured, pen flying. Defamation, maybe emotional distress. And that word she used? Hostile environment. We build a case like a fortress. His intensity pulled me in, a gravitational tug amid the chaos. There was a quiet fire in him, banked but burning. The way his brow furrowed over details, the subtle flex of his jaw when I mentioned the slur. Gay? The rainbow sticker on his laptop bag suggested yes. Out? Definitely. And single? A detail I'd pry later, when my world wasn't crumbling. By the time Sebastian roared up in his F-150, dusted with quarry grit, toolbox rattling in the bed, the sun dipped low, casting long shadows over the congealed disaster. Seb bounded in like a force of nature. 6 feet 3 inches, broad as a linebacker gone soft around the middle from too many post-job burgers. His flannel shirt sleeves rolled to elbows veined with blue from years of manual labor. He crushed me in a bear hug that smelled of diesel and pine tar, then pulled back, hands on my shoulders. Eyes up, Nate. We're dynamiting that shitshow. Elias rose, extending a hand. Sebastian Hargrove? The concrete king himself. Seb's grin split wide. Guilty. And you must be the shark. They clasped, sizing each other up. Two worlds colliding. Blue-collar grit and white-collar edge. I watched, a flicker of something warm stirring despite the chill in my gut. Allies. Maybe more. That night, over takeout pizza on paper plates. Greasy pepperoni circles mocking the pool's fate, we plotted. Seb's crew could jackhammer it out, but it'd cost a fortune. Scar the yard. Elias pushed for lawsuit first. Injunction, damages, maybe a countersuit to dissolve the HOA's overreach. These Karens think they're untouchable, he said, wiping sauce from his lip with the back of his hand. But America's built on checks and balances. Yours, ours. Seb chuckled, deep and rumbling. Hell yeah. My pops always said, concrete sets, but grudges crack. He clapped Elias on the back, a bro move that lingered a beat too long, and I caught the lawyer's glance. Appreciative, appraising. As they bantered, I slipped to the patio doors, staring at the monolith under floodlights. It loomed, unyielding, a symbol of how one person's hate could bury another's joy. But inside, voices overlapped in harmony. Seb's baritone assurance, Elias's clipped precision. For the first time, the weight felt shared. Little did I know, the pour was just the beginning. Karen's vendetta ran deeper than bylaws, tied to secrets in Willow Creek that would drag us all under, testing loyalties, igniting sparks, and forcing me to choose between the safety of solitude and the terror of true connection. Dawn the next day broke gray and sullen, the kind of Ohio autumn light that seeped through clouds like bad news. I woke on the couch, neck kinked from a throw pillow that smelled faintly of Elias's cologne. Cedar and citrus, a scent that had haunted my half-dreams. The living room was a war zone of legal pads, empty beer bottles, and Seb's discarded work boot, testament to our midnight strategy session that devolved into bad jokes and worse karaoke via my Bluetooth speaker. Seb was already up, raiding the fridge for eggs and bacon, whistling an off-key Springsteen tune. Rise and shine, architect boy. Fuel for the fight. He slid a plate my way, over easy, just how I liked, and dropped into the armchair, legs sprawled like he owned the place. Which, in a way, he did. Family blood ran thicker than any foundation he poured. Thanks, man. I poked at the yolk, appetite AWOL. What's the play today? Recon, he said around a mouthful. I'm calling my dispatcher, track that driver, see if Karen sweet-talked him with cash or threats. You and Fancy Pants hit the HOA records. Dig for dirt. Elias arrived at 8 sharp, hair tamed but eyes shadowed, thermos in tow again. Slept like shit, he admitted, handing me a mug. This case, it's personal. He didn't elaborate, but the tightness in his voice hinted at scars, perhaps his own run-in with small-town zealots. We piled into Seb's truck, the cab a cocoon of vinyl seats and country radio static. Elias rode shotgun, me in the back nursing coffee, watching Willow Creek unspool. Maple-lined streets, minivans ferrying kids to school, the American flag limp on every porch. Idyllic until you scratched the picket fence. First stop, the community center. A squat brick building with a bulletin board plastered in flyers for bake sales and Bible studies. The HOA office was a closet of a room, manned by Mrs. Ellis, a retiree with bifocals and a perm that defied gravity. Elias flashed his credentials. Gold embossed, intimidating, and she wilted like a fern in frost. Records? All public, dear. But her hands trembled as she unlocked the file cabinet, yellowing folders spilling like confetti from hell. We pored over them at a Formica table. Meeting minutes, violation logs, budgets bloated with administrative fees. Karen's name cropped up everywhere. Board secretary, grievance chair, the woman who'd pushed through the pool ban amendment last year, citing water safety concerns, for a neighborhood without kids. Look here, Elias murmured, tapping a page. His finger brushed mine. Electric, accidental. And I pulled back too quick, heat crawling up my neck. Unsigned expense report. $5,000 to vendor services around the time of your install. Coincidence? Seb, back from a smoke break, leaned in. That's my wheelhouse. Let me cross-check with my invoices. If she funneled HOA cash to sabotage you. The pieces clicked. Jealousy, maybe. I'd heard whispers. Karen's son, Tommy, had been my high school lab partner, the one who'd outed me after a drunken kiss at prom afterparty. Ferry Whitaker, he'd slurred to the jocks, and the nickname stuck like gum on a shoe. Now Tommy was gone. Overdose, 2 years back, and Karen's grief had twisted into a crusade, me the convenient scapegoat. We emerged into midday drizzle, the air thick with petrichor and possibility. "This is gold," Elias said, clapping my shoulder. His touch lingered, warm through damp flannel. "We file the injunction tomorrow. Force her to disclose." Seb drove us to the quarry's edge for lunch. Sandwiches from his cooler, eaten on tailgate amid gravel piles that dwarfed us like ancient monoliths. "Remember that summer we built the fort?" he asked me, tossing a crust to the crows. "Cardboard and duct tape against the world." I laughed, the sound rusty. "Yeah, until Dad tore it down. Real men build houses, not hideouts." Elias listened, quiet. Then, "My old man was worse, disowned me after Brown. Said architecture was for pansies." He met my eyes, a shared ache bridging the cab's divide. "Built my own fort, though, brick by brick." The vulnerability cracked something in me. A dam I'd shored up since the pool pour. Seb sensed it, steering us back with tales of botched jobs. The time he accidentally paved a bride's gown at a venue gig. Laughter bubbled up, real this time, and by the time we hit my driveway, the truck felt less like transport, more like home. But home was scarred. The pool squatted under blue tarp, a hulking reminder. Seb's crew arrived at dusk. 4 guys in high-vis, jackhammers humming like angry bees. Dust plumed as they chipped at the edges. Progress slow but symbolic. I watched from the deck, Elias beside me, our elbows touching on the rail. "You okay?" he asked, voice low. "Not really." Honesty spilled. This place was supposed to be my fresh start. After everything. The ex who cheated with my roommate, the job that chewed me up. Now it's literal concrete boots. He turned, face half-shadowed. "Starts don't come clean, Nate. They're messy, full of rebar and regret. But you pour anyway." His hand covered mine, deliberate now, thumb tracing a knuckle. "And sometimes you get help." The spark ignited, tentative as a match in wind. I leaned in, breath mingling, but Seb's whoop from below shattered it. "Got a chunk!" And we sprang apart, cheeks burning. Night fell heavy, crew gone, tarp patched. Seb crashed in the guest room, snoring through the walls. I lay awake, Elias's words looping, his touch a phantom itch. Down the hall, the man who'd always been family felt suddenly distant. A bridge I hadn't crossed. And outside, Karen's lights burned late. Plotting, no doubt. The next week blurred into deposition prep. Affidavits from neighbors, 2 sided with me, citing Karen's episodes. Forensic accounting from Seb's ledger, that $5,000 traced to a shell vendor, her initials on the check. Elias and I fell into rhythm. Late nights at my kitchen table, takeout cartons piling like evidence. His laugh cutting the tension when I'd sketch absurd revenge. Karen's Prius filled with gravel. "You're vicious," he'd tease, eyes crinkling. "I like it." "Me? You're the one plotting her financial ruin." Team effort. Our knees knocked under the table, no longer accidental. One evening, post-subpoena draft, he lingered at the door. Rain pattered the awning. "Nate, this case, it's not just billable hours." I swallowed. "Then what?" "A chance." He stepped closer, cologne wrapping me. Our lips met, soft, searching, tasting of Merlot and relief. It deepened, hands fisting shirts, until Seb's truck headlights swept the drive, killing the moment. Seb killed more than that, unwittingly. The next morning, over coffee, he cornered me in the garage. "Saw you two, lip-locking like teenagers." He's solid, "Nate. But, you sure?" I bristled. "What's that mean?" "Just, after Derek. My ex, the cheater." Seb had picked up the pieces, nursed me through bourbon benders. "Don't want you hurt again." Protective. Brotherly. but it stung, a wedge in the warmth. Elias arrived soon after, oblivious, and we three drove to court, united front, fractures hidden. The hearing was a circus. Karen in pearls and power suit, her lawyer a slick weasel from Dayton. Judge Harlan, a grizzled vet with a drawl like molasses, peered over half-moons. Elias shone, objections crisp, evidence airtight. Your Honor, this isn't enforcement. It's extortion. Ms. Hargrove weaponized the HOA for personal vendetta. Karen testified, voice quivering. He flaunts his lifestyle. The pool parties, the men. Lies, all my parties were solo floats. Gasps rippled the gallery. Seb in the back, fists clenched. When her eyes flicked to him, Hargrove, the name on her poisoned pool, he paled. Nate, he whispered later. That check? It wasn't just vendor. She called my office weeks ago, asking about you, about us. The word hung, but before I could probe, the gavel fell. Temporary injunction granted. Pool remediation at HOA expense. Cheers muffled, but victory tasted bittersweet. That night, celebration at O'Malley's. The dive bar on Route 42. Beers on tap, darts in dim light. Seb bought rounds, toasting to cracking concrete, and Karen's. Elias's arm draped my chair back, casual claim. But Seb's eyes lingered, shadowed. As closing time neared, he pulled me aside by the jukebox. Nate, listen. Karen's not done. And, Elias, I ran a check. Old firm drama, lost a big case last year. Ethics complaint. Dropped. But, betrayal's first whisper. I shoved it down, laughing it off. But seeds planted deep. The jackhammers sang for 3 days straight. A symphony of retribution that shook the neighborhood like an earthquake in miniature. Chunks of cured concrete calved into dump trucks, hauled away to some anonymous pit, while Seb's crew layered rebar and fresh blue liner, resurrecting the pool from its ashen grave. I watched from the kitchen window, coffee going cold, the rhythmic thud syncing with my pulse, a heartbeat restored. Elias was there every evening, sleeves rolled, handing tools like he'd grown up swinging a hammer instead of briefs. Who knew litigation built biceps? He'd quip, flexing mockingly, sweat tracing the V of his collarbone. Our kisses grew bolder, stolen in the tool shed, urgent against the fence, each one a defiance of the chaos. He was sunlight after storm, thoughtful texts at dawn, thinking of you amid the rubble, playlists of indie folk that spoke of mending, hands that mapped my skin with architect's precision, finding arches and angles I'd forgotten. Seb noticed, of course. His jokes sharpened. Get a room, lovebirds, or use the pool once it's done. But under the banter, tension coiled, a spring wound too tight. He'd arrive earlier, leave later, inserting himself into our debriefs with questions that probed too deep. Elias, that ethics thing, ever worry it bites back? Elias's smile faltered once, twice. Ancient history, man. Client lied. I took the heat. Cleared my name. Seb nodded, but his jaw ticked. Protective? Or something else? I pushed it aside, lost in the glow of possibility. For the first time since the poor, Willow Creek felt like mine. Not a cage, but a canvas. The pool gleamed anew by week's end, water lapping crystal under the harvest moon. We christened it quietly. Seb cannonballing in jeans, whooping like a kid. Elias and I wading to our waists, his fingers interlacing mine underwater, pulling me close. To fresh starts, he murmured, lips brushing my temple. Seb watched from the edge, beer in hand, expression unreadable. Y'all are cute. Sickening, but cute. He dove in fully clothed, splashing us into laughter, but as he surfaced, hair plastered, eyes fierce. I caught a glimpse of envy, raw and unguarded. Monday brought normalcy's cruelties. Back to the drafting table at Whitaker and Sons. My firm's cubicle farm humming with AutoCAD beeps and fluorescent buzz. Colleagues ribbed gently. Heard you made the local news, pool warrior. But the victory chafed. Karen's appeal loomed, her lawyer filing motions like buckshot. Elias texted updates. Discovery phase. She's squirming. That night, he came over with Thai takeout and a bottle of Cabernet, the kind with legs like a marathoner. We ate cross-legged on the living room rug, candles flickering against the rebuilt world outside. Conversation meandered, from his Boston childhood, strict Episcopalian dad, rebellious theater kid phase, to my Columbus years, art school flings, the ex who shattered me with, "It's not you, it's my straight crisis." Vulnerability flowed easy, wine loosened. "You're brave, Nate," he said, tracing my palm. "Owning your space here. Most guys I know hide behind apps. Never build. Brave? Or stubborn?" I flipped our hands, thumbing his wrist pulse. Derek called it selfish, said I prioritized fairy tales over us. Elias's eyes darkened. Derek was a fool. This, he gestured to the room, the pool lights dancing through glass, is real. You're real. We made love then, slow and reverent on the rug, bodies aligning like elevations on a blueprint. No rush, just discovery. The curve of his hip, the hitch in his breath when I whispered his name. Afterward, tangled in sheets dragged from bed, he confessed, "I haven't done this in months. Last guy, complicated. Firm partner, ended ugly. Ethics complaint?" The word slipped, Seb's seed sprouting. He stiffened. "Part of it." He claimed conflict of interest. I walked away clean, but it cost me. Guilt twisted. Seb mentioned. Of course he did. Elias sat up, shadows pooling in his collarbones. "Your cousin's thorough. But Nate, trust me. I'm all in." I pulled him back, silencing doubts with kisses. Trust. The word echoed hollow, but in his arms, it almost rang true. The fracture widened midweek. Seb called at 2 a.m., voice gravel from sleep or something stronger. "Nate, get to the yard. Now." I threw on sweats, heart lurching. Elias stirred. "Go, I'll lock up." And I bolted to Hargrove Concrete's lot, a moonlit sprawl of mixers and silos on the outskirts. Seb waited by the office trailer, face gaunt under sodium lamps, a manila folder clutched like a grenade. "Couldn't sleep," he admitted, leading me inside. Fluorescents buzzed to life, illuminating blueprints and coffee rings on the desk. He slid the folder across. "Karen's appeal docs, leaked from her lawyer's paralegal. Owes me a favor from a Reno job. Pages fanned. Depositions? Exhibits." My stomach dropped at Exhibit C. A grainy photo time-stamped last month. Me and Elias at O'Malley's, his arm around me, lips close. Below, circled in red. Witness tampering? Intimate relations with counsel. Son of a... Rage boiled. How? She had us tailed. Seb's nod was grim. Worse. Check the affidavit. Tommy's old emails, your prom night. She's painting you as predator, me as enabler. Family cover-up. The words blurred. Predator. Enabler. Ghosts of high school risen, clawing. Why tell me this? We fight it. Because. He paced, boots scuffing linoleum. Elias knew. About the tale. His firm's PI flagged it weeks ago before the pour. He didn't say shit. Ice in my veins. What? Called in a favor. Tracked her moves. But he sat on it, let the case build. Leverage, maybe. Or what? My voice cracked. Seb stopped, inches away, his bulk filling the trailer. Or he's playing you. Nate, The door banged open. Elias, disheveled, rain-slicked. Saw your truck from the road. What's this? Seb's laugh barked bitter. Truth hour, counselor. Accusations flew. Elias defensive. I was building evidence. Seb accusatory. You used my cousin as bait. Me the referee, head spinning. Enough. I roared. Elias, is it true? He deflated. Yes, but for us. To bury her. Trust shattered like cheap glass. I stormed out, rain lashing my face. Seb's wait. Lost in the downpour. Back home, the pool mocked. Pristine surface rippling under drops. Hiding depths. Dawn found me on the patio. Feet dangling in cool water. Phone dead in my lap. Betrayal's aftertaste. Bitter, familiar. Elias texted apologies. I deleted. Seb called voicemail. Sorry, cuz. Love you. Always. Love. The complication. As the sun crested, burning off mist, Karen's sedan purred past, slow, triumphant. The war wasn't over, but mine was fracturing from within. The appeal hearing loomed like a thunderhead, 2 weeks out, but the real storm raged in my living room that Saturday morning. Elias arrived unannounced, eyes red-rimmed, bearing donuts from the Greek place on Main. Apple fritters, my weakness, a white flag glazed in sugar. Nate, please, hear me out. I let him in, but the air crackled, charged with unspoken fractures. Seb had texted coordinates. Neutral ground, the quarry overlook, but I waved him off. This was mine to mend or end. We sat at the breakfast bar, crumbs scattering like shrapnel. The PI? Elias started, voice steady but laced with plea. It was routine due diligence. Karen's been watching you since move-in, neighborhood watch logs, complaints stacked like Jenga. I flagged it to protect the case, not manipulate. And me, I stabbed a fork into pastry, metaphor unintended. Collateral. No. He reached across, but I pulled back. God, no. Nate, you're the case. The heart of it. His laugh was hollow. Irony, huh? Architect falls for the lawyer litigating his life. The honesty pierced. Flashes. His laugh over blueprints. The way he'd hum off-key to my Spotify cues. Mornings tangled in sunlight. Then why hide? One call to Seb, we could have escalated. Elias leaned in, intensity flaring. She'd lawyer up harder, spin it as harassment. I thought, control the narrative. Control. The word soured. Like Derek. Always the plan, never the person. He winced. I'm not him. Aren't you? Silence stretched, thick as unset mortar. Outside, leaves skittered across the lawn. Autumn's indifferent march. Elias stood, chair scraping. I get it. Space. But Nate, this isn't over. Karen's digging too. Tommy's emails? That's just the appetizer. He left the donuts, the door clicking soft behind. I ate one anyway, sweetness cloying, then texted Seb. Quarry. Noon. The overlook was a gravel perch above the pit. Wind whipping off the Scioto Valley, carrying whispers of earth and iron. Seb waited on the hood of his truck, thermos steaming, flannel buffeted like a sail. Cuz. He slid down, enveloping me in that bare hug, grounding, eternal. We walked the rim, boots crunching aggregate. Elias? He prompted. Told his side. Believable. But doubt's a bitch. Seb kicked a pebble over the edge, watching it tumble into oblivion. Like with Marla. My ex thought she was the one till I found the texts. Boom. Foundation gone. I nodded, throat tight. You ever regret telling me? About the PI? His step faltered. Nah. Family first. But his eyes dodged, flicking to the horizon. Always. The lie hung, subtle but seismic. Seb, the straight shooter, hedging? I filed it, focusing on the vista. Striated earth, layers of time exposed. Karen's next move? Petty shit. Vandalism rumors. Your mailbox keyed. Tires slashed? Nah, her style's bureaucratic. But the appeal. She'll parade Tommy's ghost. Make you the villain. Villain. The role I'd played in her tragedy. I kissed him, Seb. Once. Drunk, stupid. He panicked, lashed out. Seb stopped, hand on my arm, heavy, anchoring. You were kids. And Tommy. He was lost long before. Pills, parties. Karen blames you, 'cause it's easier than the mirror. Empathy for her flickered, unbidden. Grief's alchemy. Hate from hurt. What if we settle? Drop it? Fill the pool again? His laugh boomed. Hell no. She started this war. We finish it. He pulled me into a side hug, stubble rasping my temple. Proud of you, Nate. Standing tall. The warmth spread. Familial, fierce. But as we turned back, his phone buzzed. Dispatcher, urgent. Got a roll. Cement emergency in Delaware. He clapped my back, Lingering. Call if you need. Doors open. Alone on the overlook, wind howling. I felt the pull. Elias's fire, Seb's rock. Two orbits, one me, destined to collide. Back home, the mailbox gaped empty. No vandalism, but a single envelope, no stamp. HOA letterhead, Karen's scrawl. Confess your sins, or the board sees everything. Attached. Printouts, screenshots, my Grindr profile, blurred dates from last summer, even a shot of Elias's car at my curb, time-stamped post-pour. Blackmail. Crude, but cutting. I burned it in the sink, flames licking blue, but the ash lingered. Elias called that evening voicemail since I let it ring. Miss you. Case update. Her lawyers folding on the tampering claim. We win this. Delete. Seb texted memes. Exploding Karen heads, pool party emojis. Reply thanks, hero. Night deepened, pool lights a sapphire glow. I stripped to boxers, dove in, water embracing, weightless. Surfacing, gasp echoing. I floated, stars pricking the sky. Clarity came in strokes. Fight for the house, but guard the heart. Monday's office drone shattered by a courier. Subpoena for Seb Karen's team, demanding Hargrove records. All pores, including the illicit one. Retaliation. I raced to the yard, finding Seb in the mixer bay, grease monkeying a chute. They'll bury you too, I panted. He wiped his brow, calm as quarry stone. Let him dig. My books are clean. But his eyes, wary, waited. Nate, about the other night. Forget it. We're good. The crew brake horn blared. He nodded, vanishing into din. I lingered, spotting a file half buried on his desk. Whitaker versus Hargrove. No, Hargrove v. HOA 2018. Old case. Seb sued over a covenant violation. Lost. Bitter. Karen's name, underlined thrice. Puzzle piece. He knew her venom firsthand. Why not say? Doubt metastasized. That night, Elias showed. Uninvited, rain-soaked, desperation etched. Talk to me. We ended up poolside, towels draped, sharing the silence. She sent blackmail, I admitted. Grindr stuff, old flames. His face hardened. Slime. We'll countersue extortion. Then soft. Nate, I screwed up. The PI. But I fell. Hard. Fell. Past tense? And now. Still falling. He cupped my face, thumb on lip. If you'll catch me. I did. Kiss salt-tanged from tears or rain. Forgiveness tentative but tender. We made promises in whispers. Post-case dinners. Weekend getaways. Bodies aligning under stars. Hope's fragile mortar. But dawn brought Seb's truck. Headlights piercing. He killed the engine, silhouette hulking. Witness? To what, reunion or ruin? The high tide of trust crested, but undertows pulled. Karen's appeal was the cresting wave. Beneath, currents of old wounds swirled, threatening to drag us under. Courtroom 3C in the Franklin County Courthouse smelled of polished oak and stale ambition, the kind of scent that clung to dreams deferred. The appeal hearing convened under fluorescent halos, gallery packed with Willow Creek busybodies. Mrs. Ellis dabbing her eyes, a cluster of Karens in training whispering behind programs. Karen sat ramrod at the plaintiff table, pearls choking her neck like a noose, her lawyer fidgeting with a thumb drive labeled Exhibit D. I entered flanked. Elias crisp in wool crepe, briefcase a shield. Seb lumbering behind, flannel swapped for a button-down that strained at seams, his presence a bulwark of quiet fury. Our eyes met, mine pleading solidarity, his flickering with something shadowed, unvoiced. The air hummed, electric with stakes. Win, and the HOA crumbled. Lose, and my home became her fiefdom. Judge Harlan reconvened, gavel a punctuation mark. Counsel, proceed. Elias rose, a panther in pinstripes. Your Honor, this appeal is a house of cards built on malice. Ms. Hargrove's actions, the unauthorized pour, constitute not just breach, but battery on property, laced with discriminatory animus. He paced, voice rising like a crescendo. Exhibit A, her affidavit, laced with slurs. Exhibit B, forged permits, traced to her hand. And now, her blackmail attempts, screenshots of Mr. Whitaker's private life, weaponized to intimidate. Murmurs rippled. Karen's lawyer objected. Hearsay. But Harlan overruled, bushy brows knitting. Evidence, counselor. Not vendettas. The thumb drive projected. Tommy's emails, pixelated venom from a decade past. Ferry's fault ruined me. Karen testified next, voice a tremolo of martyrdom. My boy. He was sensitive. Nathaniel preyed on that innocence. The pool? A den of sin, mocking his memory. Lies layered thick. But her eyes, wet, wild, tugged sympathy from the room. Seb shifted beside me, knuckles whitening on the bench. Bullshit, he muttered. Tommy chose his demons. Elias cross-examined, scalpel sharp. Ms. Hargrove, your son's passing tragic, but using it to harass a neighbor? Explain the $5,000 diversion from HOA funds to a concrete vendor. She faltered, pearls clicking. Administrative. Error. Error with your signature? Boom. The gallery gasped. Recess called. Harlan adjourning for deliberation. We spilled into the hall, Seb clapping Elias's back. Nailed it, shark. But tension simmered. Drinks after. Elias suggested, hand grazing mine. Seb demurred. Paperwork calls. Rain check. His truck peeled out before we hit the lot. Tires spitting gravel like accusations. Verdict came swift. Appeal denied. Sanctions on Karen. $15K damages. Board dissolution pending election. Cheers erupted. I hugged Elias fierce, his whisper hot. We did it. Lost in the din, Karen stormed past. Glare a dagger. This isn't over. Deviant. Outside, autumn sun slanted gold. Leaves carpeting the steps like confetti. Victory tasted of champagne. Elias popped a bottle in the parking garage. Foam arcing as we kissed against the hood. Giddy. Alive. Dinner? He proposed. Celebrate properly. My place. Pool aglow. String lights. I'd hung post-pour twinkling invitation. We grilled burgers. His with feta, mine veggie. Wine flowing red as the Scioto at dusk. Laughter echoed. Reenacting Harlan's drawl, toasting to pools and prosecutions. Inevitably, bodies drew close. His shirt discarded by the grill, my hands tracing ink on his ribs. A compass rose. True north. We tumbled to the lounge chair, love-making lazy under stars. His moans mingling with crickets. A symphony of reclaimed joy. After, wrapped in his arms, head on his chest, heartbeat a lullaby. Future tense? He murmured, fingers combing my hair. Boston trip? Or stay here? Build something. Something. Sleep tugged. Sweet. But 3 a.m. shattered it. Pounding at the door. Frantic. I bolted up, Elias stirring. Ignore. But instinct propelled me down, robe askew. Seb on the stoop. Soaked despite no rain. Eyes wild. Folder clutched anew. Nate. Inside. Now. Elias appeared. Boxers hasty. Hargrove? What's? Stay out. Seb's bark primal. He thrust the folder at me. Bank statements, Hargrove letterhead. Your boy. Elias. The ethics drop? Not so dropped. Pages trembled in my grip. Wire transfer. $10,000 from Elias's firm to a Delaware LLC shell. Traced to Karen's lawyer. Timestamp. Pre-pour. Memo. Settlement facilitation. Betrayal. Double-barreled. Elias. My voice, whisper gunshot. He paled, stepping back. Nate, wait. Explain. Seb loomed, arms crossed. Elias's shoulders sagged. Contingency. To head off her suit. Anonymous through back channels. I greenlit it. Thought it'd bury the pour before it happened. Lie. Seb's finger jabbed. My accountant flagged it weeks ago. You routed through my vendor, Nate's neighbor on the board. Baited her into action. Elias's eyes darted, to me pleading. I swear it was firewalled. For protection. Or payoff. Seb's voice cracked. Raw. You used us. Both. The room spun. Pieces locked. The PI, the hidden wire, the too perfect injunction. Leverage indeed bought with my pain. Get out. I choked. Nate. Elias reached. I flinched. Out. Door slammed. His car humming away into night. Silence crushed. Seb and I adrift in wreckage. Why didn't you tell me sooner? Accusation aimed at the rock. Seb deflated onto the couch. Didn't want to break you again. Like Derek. Or control the narrative. Echo of Elias, twisted. His head snapped up, hurt flashing. What? The file. Your old suit against HOA. You hated her first. This whole thing, poor fight, was it payback? Using me? Silence, damning. Nate, partially. She bankrupted Dad's side gig. Covenants bullshit. When she targeted you. Opportunity. Betrayal's echo chamber. Everyone playing angles, me the pawn. Family first, huh? I love you, cuz. His voice broke. More than. Stop. I backed away. Just. Go. He rose, slow, door clicking final. Alone, pool lights mocking. I sank to the floor, sobs racking. Dawn crept. Gray as the pour. Morning brought calls. Elias. Begging. Seb. Apologetic. Ignored. Work. Called in sick. Curling fetal amid sheets that smelled of cedar lies. Karen's car purred by noon. White flag. No. Envelope under wiper. Truce? Coffee? 2 p.m. O'Malley's. Madness? Or masochism? I went. She waited in the booth, deflated. Makeup caked over hollows, pearls absent. Nathaniel. No slur, just weariness. Coffee. Black. Server gone, she leaned in. I lost. Everything. Bored. Savings. Tommy's ghost. Poetic. Bitterness seeped. Her laugh, brittle. You hate me. Fair. But, that night, prom. Tommy told me. Not prayed, confused. He was gay too. Scared. Like me. Revelation's gut punch. You knew. Guessed. Denied. Pushed him straight, therapy, prayers. He broke. Tears tracked. You were the mirror I shattered. Humanity's hook. Not monster, mourner. Why me? Easy target. Easier than myself. Pause. Settle? I'll dissolve the HOA. You keep the pool. Peace. I nodded, numb. Peace. Driving home. Absolution's weight lifted, partial but palpable. Texts pinged. Elias, one chance? Seb, coffee? Talk. Forgiveness? Not yet. But the door cracked. Winter tiptoed into Willow Creek on frost-laced winds, blanketing the suburbs in hush. The pool shuddered under a fitted cover like a sleeper's quilt. The settlement signed in November. HOA disbanded, Karen's resignation public. A neighborhood potluck, her reluctant swan song. Awkward pot roast and side eyes, but no slurs. She moved by Christmas, house dark, sold to a young family with twins and a minivan. Whispers said therapy, Florida retirement. Redemption's quiet arc. Me? Reconstruction. The house stood, scars patched. Fresh tiles in the foyer, wildflowers receded defiant. Work hummed, promotion to senior draftsman. Projects blooming with sustainable twists. My sketches now laced with personal flourish. Curves echoing embraces lost and found. Elias and I? Fractured, but not fatal. Post-betrayal, I ghosted for weeks. Nights floating in the drained pool basin. Stars my confessor. Journaling blueprints of the heart. What trust builds, what it buries. He persisted. Letters hand-delivered, no legalese, just raw. I was scared, of losing the case, of losing you. Cowardice, not calculation. Therapy recs enclosed, his own sessions logged. We met in February, neutral. The overlook, snow dusting gravel like powdered sugar. He arrived bundled, thermosteaming, chai this time, spiced hope. No expectations, he said, handing it over. Just talk. We did. Hours unfurling. His firm fallout, partner's sabotage. Not his. The wire's true intent, stall tactic, misfired. Apologies layered, mine too, for doubting wholesale. We both hid, I admitted. Me from Derek's shadow, you from vulnerability. Handshakes turned hugs, hugs to holding. Slow rebuild. Coffee dates, no overnights. Walks along the Scioto, debating Gary versus Wright. Sparks reignited in spring, a kiss under dogwoods tentative, then torrent. By pool opening, he moved a toothbrush in, his compass tattoo a talisman against storms. Seb, the deeper wound, mended in layers. He vanished post-reveal, yard radio silent, text sparse. Miss you, cuz, pride stung mine, guilt his. I drove to the quarry unannounced, finding him amid silos, directing a poor, silhouette commanding. Nate, surprise softened to relief. He wiped hands on rag, pulling me into the trailer. Same desk, but files neatened. No bullshit, I started. Your grudge with Karen, fair. But using me? That cut deepest. He nodded, sinking into chair. Idiot move. Thought I was shielding, avenging dad, protecting you. Blurred lines. Pause. Heavy. Truth? Seeing you with Elias. Stirred shit. Jealous, maybe. Not like that. Flush crept. Just. You're all I got left of us kids. Scared of losing ground. Vulnerability's gift. Seb, unbreakable, cracking open. Love you too, I said. But family's not possession. Hug then. Bone-crushing, tears salt on flannel. Rebuild. Weekly burgers at O'Malley's. Quarry tours where he'd boast pores like art. Elias joined once, wary détente, beers thawing ice. To cracks, Seb toasted, clinking. They let light in. Summer swelled. Pool parties real now. Neighbors thawing. Rainbow float bobbing unmolested. Elias dove graceful. Seb cannonballed chaos. Me mediating splashes with laughter. One dusk, as grills smoked and fireflies sparked, Karen's old house lit warm. New owners waving over fence. Humanity's full circle. Not erasure, but evolution. Willow Creek, once cage, now canvas. Flaws etched, but fertile. Epilogue's whisper came in September, harvest moon full. Elias and I on the patio, feet in water, his head on my shoulder. Build with me? He asked. Ring box subtle in palm. Simple band, tungsten like rebar. Yes. Kiss sealed, future poured. Seb arrived next dawn. Truck rumbling. Concrete sample in hand. Iridescent swirl. For the extension. Kids' room someday? Dreams, deferred no more. In America's heartland sprawl, amid HOA ghosts and family fault lines, love set like the best foundations. Deep, enduring, cracked just enough for growth. The end? No, beginnings wet and waiting.